that committee was elected every year.
Mm-hmm.
And the compensation committee forced a differential in those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. I think it was something like 20 points or something. I went to 260. I think Joel and Blake, and I think maybe Don, went down rather than up.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time we had hired an associate. His name was Tim
Roke.
No, Roke came much later.
Okay.
Tim and his wife, we were pretty close to them. They actually would babysit with you guys. And then they Tim he'd bring his lunch to the office every day. It was the same damn thing every day. And he did that because they were saving up money to move to San Diego. And that's what they did after he made partner, because he made partner and he spent 6 months in New York and 6 months in Los Angeles. And then he left the firm, and he and his wife moved to San Diego. And they started doing the immigration work. His wife was into immigration before, and he just converted over.
Okay.
He was the one that did the lion's share of the corporate formation of Apple. I mean, he did all the documentation.
Okay. So how could you tell the story about finding and buying the house in Palo Alto at 2130 Emerson?
Yeah, I had come out here. We had a bad experience, I think, by that time, when we had Michelle and Ed keep you guys for a week.
Ed and Michelle Blythe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem was that we really couldn't. We put a rule in for the family that we wouldn't ever travel on the same plane. And since we had no babysitter, Juan was still in New York when I came out to do some house hunting. And I was flabbergasted at the prices. I mean, we had, by that time, I think I had gotten an offer of $35,000 for the New York house, for which we only paid $30,000. And the net result of that was, I came out and I looked. I started out looking for places to buy, but I mean the price was just so outrageous comparatively, and so I said, okay, well now I'll start looking for a place to rent. Hell, it was worse renting than it was buying. And then Blake had this friend who was a graduate student in the management school at Stanford, and he was getting his master's, and he had taken a job, I think it was in Milwaukee, and so he and his wife had done some jackleg fixing up of that house. I don't know what they bought it for. At one point, I did know that, but because it was on the transfer papers. But I looked at it, and the guy and his wife agreed to sell it to us, sell it to me for $72,500. And so I talked to Juan about it, and I told her what I'd run into and all of that. And while she never said, "Oh yeah, go ahead and buy it," she just sort of took herself out of the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it, and I bought it. She hadn't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
First time she saw it was when we moved in.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing was, I later figured out that was a hell of a mistake. We would have bought the same damn house if she had seen it, and she had seen the other stuff that was available. But she was, I think she felt, rightfully so, that her prerogative had been in effect taken away from her by me going ahead and closing the deal,
Mm-hmm.
even though she never objected to the deal before I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And there I had to come up with, I had to get two mortgages because I didn't have enough money. The $35,000 that we got, we owed 20-some thousand on the house in New York. And so I didn't have enough to make the 10% down payment.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was to agree to back the loan down, and what was left over, I gave a second mortgage to the owner.
Uh-huh.
And I think that mortgage was something like $10,000.
Uh-huh.
And I set out to get it paid off first because we had, at first, of course, we didn't have any income, but then when all these other matters started coming in, I was getting enough income, but I couldn't pay the two mortgages and still have enough to live on. So I don't remember how I hustled some of the money to find out. I think I paid off the second mortgage in a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
And then all we had left was the mortgage with the bank. And I concentrated on getting it paid off
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I could. I think we paid it off. It was a 20-year mortgage, and I think we paid it off in less than 10.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the story of it. And the house was, we did not do anything to the house. We didn't have any money to do anything to the house.
Right.
We just moved in.
But the fact that you landed on that neighborhood and that house, it sounds like was really just a coincidence arising out of Blake's relationship with this business school student.
And that location was also, Blake lived around the corner
Uh-huh.
because he had lived around the corner from his friend. And he and his first wife, whose name escapes me now, but
Jenny?
Jenny,
Yeah.
they had the house in the middle of the block on, what the hell's the name of the street that runs down through there?
Santa Rita or Ringanata?
Santa Rita.
Santa Rita, yeah. That was my recollection.
But that's the story of how we got into that house. Now, after we got it paid off, Juan wanted to buy another house and sell that house. But I couldn't see financially how we could do that.
Uh-huh.
And so we didn't, and that further, I think, turned her off on that house. And it turned out that by the end of when we separated, the doctor told me at Stanford, said, she should not be moved out of that house.
Right.
She really likes that house. And I said, you're nuts. She never has liked that house. And he said, no, she really likes that house.
He said that after talking to her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's when I decided